This meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. We do have the presence of a quorum, and the meeting has been duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And as with every meeting, we will start it with the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's my turn. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for everything you've given us, God. We are thankful to be in the position we're in and to be able to serve our community as you've blessed us to do. God, we just want to lift up our teachers and our staff as we come back from a summer break and get into the business of educating kids and really just so much more. We just pray that you'll bless our teachers' attitudes, give them peace, give them patience with our students. Lord, we know you are the Prince of Peace. We want to pray for our students that you'll calm any anxieties that they might have going into the year. We are just so proud to call Tyler home. Lord, I pray that we'll be bold when necessary as a board to stand on your truths, and that our teachers will have confidence in you and confidence in us to do what's right when necessary. We just pray your blessings over Dr. Crawford and his team. And this board, God. May we just look to you for guidance. And with this heat, God, pray that you'll just keep our athletes safe, coaches wise, give our coaches wisdom. Please bless them with that. And it's in your Son, Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay. We do have some business to attend to coming out of executive session, and I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on item B.
Mr. President, I move that the board propose the termination of the probationary employment contract of Whitney Bishop for behavior which constitutes abandonment of her contract.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries.
Mr. President, I also move that the board propose the termination of the probationary employment contract of Sonora Armstrong for behavior which constitutes abandonment of her contract.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. Now we are moving on to public participation, in which we do not have any public participants this evening. So that brings us to a first week of school update. How's it going, Dr. Crawford?
It's going well. I think it was a very popular thing to have a 3-day start especially for our young kids. They get pretty worn out. Those pre-Kers, those kindergartners, the first of school, first graders. And so we got a lot of good feedback about that from parents, but we also got good feedback from our teachers as well. So that was one item that I did want to make sure we checked off. Now, when we start talking about the 3-day start, there are calendar goals that we always begin with when we start that calendar construction here coming this fall. And I did poll a lot of our teachers who talked about how great it was to have a couple of days before the kids came in their classroom to work, before the kids actually showed up, the students actually showed up. And I told them, I said, well, they said, can we keep doing this every year? And oh, by the way, what happened to those 3-day weekends we used to get? Well, where do you think we got the 2 days to start this a little late? There's things that always go into consideration. There's always, everyone wants to get out before Memorial Day. Everybody wants this 16 to 17 days at Christmas, the 9 days at Thanksgiving, the 9 days at spring break. So we'll try to see what we can do to accommodate that in future years. There's also financial considerations whenever you start at certain parts of August that Tasha, the CFO, has to be aware of. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about. We had a great, even before school started, we were able to witness an outstanding onboarding and induction period for all of our new teachers and our 1 to 3 year teachers here in Tyler ISD. We're very proud of that. I think Dr. Norman did an outstanding job. Doc, come on up. Yeah, just have a little conversation about that real quick. And as she's coming up here, I've got these 3 handbooks that were here that we gave out to all of our newbies, and even some of our folks that are just in those first 3 years of teaching. And you've got one handbook called Systems and Routines Interactive Handouts. You always wonder how, when you bring a new teacher in, or if they're new to the profession, you just pitch them a textbook and say, go at it, or not. Strong voice, interactive handouts. In other words, how do you handle your classroom? These are things that we went over during our return to work this year. And then Technology Basics Resource Handbook. Of course, that was kind of a collaborative effort, I guess, about how you use some of the technology that we have, how do you access your email account, et cetera, et cetera. So, Dr. Norman, just real quick, talk about the PD end before we get into the rest of the update of school.
Absolutely. Good evening, Board of Trustees, President Washman, and Dr. Crawford. So in May, you guys know that I brought to you the professional learning plan for the district, and I talked about how we completely revamped how we were going to onboard all of our new hires and how we were going to support our first-year teachers new to the profession. So I'm so excited to share with you that we had such a successful start. We had so much positive feedback. From what Dr. Crawford referred to as day 1 of Tech Basics. All of this was a year-long plan based off of feedback from our principals, from our teachers, from our CNI staff. But day 2 is where we purchased Teach Like a Champion curriculum. And that really focuses on classroom management, procedures, routines. But what's unique about this curriculum is it wasn't just come to the district, sit and get. They watched videos of these procedures in action with other teachers. Then they had an opportunity to practice those routines and procedures and get feedback to each other before day 1. And I think this is the best complement to what we were already doing. But I had an instructional specialist come to me this week and say, Lainey, I saw in day 1 what we taught already being implemented because we had practiced, we had talked about it, and they saw the power in that. And so that's just a shout out to our team that pulled that off. Also, we had some great community support partners from the Education Foundation. For the first time this year, they hosted all of our new hires with a meal. And let me remind everyone that's listening that our teachers are not on contract yet. So then when they come that first week, they are not getting paid for those days. So if you think about childcare and for them to have a sit-down meal, which I think they thought they were getting a box lunch. And when they saw it was Olive Garden, I mean, they were really excited. And so we provided that for every new hire. We provided breakfast and lunch. And we had a community partner that was so impressed with not only what we were focusing on and how we were onboarding our new hires, they committed to us for the next 5 years to provide lunch for our new hires. So that was really exciting. So I just want to take a moment just to share a couple of quotes and feedback from that day. We had a participant say, I learned a lot of approaches and techniques to keep my classroom managed well and keep my scholars engaged in class. The session was very engaging and we were able to practice well what we've learned. Kudos to the facilitators. Someone else said, highly informative. I couldn't imagine going through my first year without these. And so I could go on and on. I have a lot of quotes and feedback, but that's just to share with you what a successful start we had, and it kept getting better and better. The next week we had our district professional development, and then to see the connection of the district PD to the campus PD and reconnecting with our true framework, we just had a successful start. So I'm excited to share and provide you feedback. And that does not stop those first few days. If you remember, we're bringing back all of our first-year teachers in September to continue the next part of that scope and sequence.
Good deal. Thank you, Dr. Norman. Thank you. Our buildings look fantastic, so accolades go out to our custodial staff. I think we're impressed. Mr. Jones, Dr. Gropel, all of our campus visits. The floors look fantastic. They were glistening. Even some of our older buildings, what's remaining of our older buildings, actually were really prepared and ready for the first day of school. Safety and security, our and our police officers, staffed, walked around and got to shake hands with those individuals, and just, man, they fit in so well. Chief Brown, Deputy Chief Woolsworth, we're just so proud to have them here. Our door hardware and our enunciators are in pretty good shape, right, Mills? Okay, good. The door enunciators, I dare y'all to go to a campus and hold it open for longer than, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds, I guess. So it'll let you know that that door is open. And of course, that all came out of some of the stuff, the tragedy we had a couple of school years ago. But we are certainly proud to have most of our doors covered, at least the ones that have electrical, pulled to that location. Dismissal was tightened up by day 3. As y'all know, it's Tyler ISD. We've been having school here since 1882. I'm sure when they had horse-drawn carriages that there was dismissal problems at our campuses. So how we get phone calls at the first of school about, I can't believe y'all's dismissal is not better, it still makes me giggle, especially on county roads out there by Owens Elementary. It's the middle of August. Be prepared for school to start back up. All the little guys like to, the parents, even if they ride a bus, love to take them to school the first week or so. And I will, from the podium up here, from the dais up here, I will say I like Elena Crawford's strategy. I don't have to be the first in line to pick up little AJ at Jack Elementary. I can be a little bit tardy there. So I appreciate everybody's patience on that, but we certainly set a reminder on your phone next 1st of August. School will start in 2 weeks. Watch out for traffic. It's Tyler, Texas. Traffic's good. Traffic equals people. People equals kids. Kids equals schools. While there were some pockets of routines and procedures with the littles, I did notice a lot, 3rd grade and up, a lot of instruction going on within the first couple or 3 days of school. Love the pre-K through 2, standing in line, making sure they're squaring up. That means getting on a square, a tile square, having hallway bubbles in their mouths, and hallway hands behind your back. That's always cute, but it's 3rd and up where they already know the routines. We're not wasting our time on that. We used to do a lot of that. You'd go to every elementary school and you'd look at the 4th and 5th graders going through routines. You're like, they're old enough to remember what they did last year and the year before and the year before. So I'm very proud for that. Any facilities folks in here tonight? There's Mr. Loper there. Kudos to him. Been chasing HVAC things. Mr. Grant's back there as well. Sorry, I have my reading glasses on. So we appreciate our maintenance crews chasing those issues. When we'd visit campuses, we'd kind of write down the room number that might have been struggling. The great thing is we don't have and it's been hot. So please pray that our air conditioners continue to work. But remember, we had a whole bank at Ramey, or almost the entire school of Ramey last year that had issues up until about October. Wasn't it, Mr. Grant? But it wasn't nearly as hot as it is right now. But right now, God has blessed us in just having pockets of HVAC issues. Waiting on some compressors, so supply chain issues persist as well. As far as staffing goes, we're very pleased about that. Before we get to enrollment counts, custodial staff, we're waiting on 1 to onboard, and we will be filled up. That is a pretty big win for us in Tyler ISD. Those auxiliary staffing personnel are hard to find, and we appreciate those folks working with us as well. In fact, we're going to hire 1 additional as well to be a little bit overstaffed, but just in case we have an emergency there. As far as classroom vacancies go, this is incredible right here. This is kudos to our human resources department. We have 6 vacancies right now. 5 are in special education and 1 science classroom at one of our high schools. That's an incredible accomplishment considering the shortage that's out there. Y'all know this. We've talked about this, that our colleges of education are not pumping out as many graduates as we have folks retiring. Certainly, there are alternative pathways to becoming a teacher as well, whether it be alternative certification. Your superintendent was one of those 28 years ago, or DOI, which this community supports, and a lot of districts around the state are modeling what we started years ago, putting degreed professionals in our classrooms while they learn how to become a teacher as well, a quality teacher. Let's talk about enrollment a little bit. From this time last year to now, we're up 175 students. That's a pretty big accomplishment there. Some big marks. Dixie Elementary has 33 new students, or more students, excuse me. Owens Elementary has 39 more students. Woods Elementary has 26 more students. Three Lakes Middle School has 31 more students. Early College High School has 50 more students. So they're getting their enrollment, back up. In fact, last year we had our graduation last year at around 80 kids or so. And that was the year that COVID kind of zapped us and kids decided not to return back to the early college concept after the pause that everybody had for COVID. But as far as enrollment goes in their grades, they've got either at 100 or north of 100 in every one of the grades over there, 119, 118, 115, 100, 9 through 12 respectively. So we're back to the days of looking at trying to graduate 100 kids a year from early college high school. Legacy High School is right at 2,700 students. They're up 131 students. And I always like to remind everyone that, remember, there's about 300 students during a block that are off campus at Legacy. Is that right, Mr. Jones? Is it 300 or more? More than 300. So when you start saying you got 2,700 over there, to manage it, it's about 2,400 because those 300 students or so are at the Career Technology Center. So we've got more than enough capacity inside of our secondary buildings to handle it 6 through 12. We appreciate the community doing that. We've got one more left. Hubbard opens, we don't know when it opens yet. We're hoping that it opens, it's gonna open by next August, right, Mr. Loper? Okay, good, all right, there you go. So, but we're in good shape on our middle schools as well. The enrollment at those middle schools are 820 at Bolter, 846 at Hubbard, 1044 at Moore, and 895 at Three Lakes. And of course, we've got a magnet school over there at Moore that does impact enrollment over there. That is our return to school update for 2023-24. Any questions?
Very good. Anybody have any questions about the first week of school?
Like seeing those increase in numbers. That's what we're in the business of doing. So, good job.
It's your hometown school district, Mr. Bergfeld. A small town feel, big city opportunities.
I missed the numbers for Tyler High, I think.
Tyler High, they're at 2105.
Okay.
They're down 53 students, but it's probably because 3/4, if not 80% of those 50 extra at early college high school probably are zoned there.
Yeah.
So they're choosing to go to early college high school.
Right.
They're at 2105,
Okay.
which in October, Mr. Leverage was asking about this earlier. That means Legacy will be 6A again and Tyler High will be 5A again.
Very good. Well, it's good to hear about more people choosing Tyler ISD. I know a lot of people that are coming over from other places. And so that, just is a testament to all of your hard work and all of our teachers' hard work. And the facilities are incredible, top notch, and programming is there too. So it's a good time to be in Tyler ISD. Okay. So we have a goal number 1 and 2, STAR summary report.
So Dr. Lance Gropel is going to take the microphone. He'll be supported by Dr. Jamie Curitan as we start rolling out some of this STAR summary for the year. Ratings about a month from now, I guess, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of been a little slow, painful experience here, unlike normal years. Now, before we start, y'all, aren't they anticipating that we'll start getting this data much sooner than what we're doing currently?
As of right now, we're scheduled to get STAR 3 through 8 data May 30th next year,
Okay.
instead of August 8th or whatever it was, 11th, something like that.
It certainly would help us with our planning to get it a little bit earlier. Okay, all right, guys, y'all go ahead.
All right. Good evening, President Washman, trustees, Dr. Crawford. As Dr. Crawford said, we have a lot of, I think, great news to share from a really phenomenal year of academic performance. Last year, I sat in that chair as Dr. Crawford made a joke about I had no impact on these results as I walked to the table to present the results. But I think we actually had some impact this year. We're going to get into some really good data and talk through some of those things.
So before we jump into that, we just want to provide a brief reminder, if you were here when we talked about the redesigned STAR 2.0 and what that looked like. Just as a reminder, our students this year had the new item types, the new question types that were on all of our STAR tests from third grade all the way through high school. So that involved like a drag and drop question instead of a multiple choice, a short constructed response, inline choice, just a variety, equation editor where kids have to actually write or type an answer in. We also had this year for the first time cross-curricular passages, meaning the passages would draw off the science and social studies standards that were taught in those grades. So a fourth grader on a reading test with a reading passage would actually read a passage about something that was taught in fourth grade science or social studies. The other piece of that was new this year is that all of our reading tests, so third grade through English 2, had a extended constructed response. So that's a full passage that they had to respond to some prompt. It's around 2,500 characters, even for our third graders. So that was brand new this year and had to be essentially integrated into this new STAR design. So part of the reason, as Dr. Crawford alluded to, that we got the results so late this year is TA had to go back and take all of those pieces and try to say this is approaches this year given what approaches was last year. So take in the new item types, the new extended constructed response, et cetera, and then determine this is approaches, this is meets, and this is masters. They could not just take the same percent score, scale score from the old test and put it on the new test and call it a day.
And Cody, you weren't here, but we went through a lot of those item types last spring with you guys, as well as with our teachers and our principal. So looking first at goals 1, our House Bill 3, goal 1 for third grade reading. You'll see the numbers there. The target there is an adjustable target. It goes up every year. So you'll see our performance there. The ones in green are where we outperformed the goal that was set by you all many years ago in Lone Star Governance, looking at how we assess our performance throughout. So this is our approaches level students. And then we'll look at the meets and masters level students. You'll see a pretty common theme throughout all of the data tonight. We really did a great job on the meets and masters side of life, and it's very evident right here when you look at all those indicators, and only one isn't in the green, meeting or exceeding our goals. Looking at math here, as you can see, don't see any green on this slide, on the approaches slide. But you can see a lot of really good performance here. Very comparable performance to what we have seen in previous years. As we looked at this data on our side of things, I'm really excited about some of the things that we're going to do differently on the math side with some of our instructional strategies and looking at small group instruction, really focusing on the individualized instruction. And Dr. Curtin, I'll have him chime in on iReady, the purchase of iReady, and how we believe that'll help with the individualization for each kid on the small group side of that. Dedicating different resources, additional resources from our focus coaching support, especially at the 3 through 5 grades. And additional problem solving, district-wide consistency. One of the things that you'll find, kids, our teachers work with problem-solving strategies to help kids, navigate through the information that they're provided in an assessment question to make sure that they're getting to the information that the question's actually asking. I know you all don't believe this, but they do write tests to be tricky. And in that moment, helping our kids navigate those tricky words that may throw them away from what the asking. So doing something district-wide, and that was developed by a group of teachers as well as some of our math folks. You want to talk a little bit about iReady?
Yeah. So one of the things that we were really excited about with iReady was the personalized learning. It's called MyPath, and essentially what happens is after students take this beginning of the year diagnostic that they're taking this week in reading and next week in math, they will know where a student starts. Are they on grade level? Are they below grade level? If they are below grade level, how far? And the same for above. And so what MyPath does is it says, given where that student is starting, what lessons do they need supplemental to what the teacher provides? So it's not a replacement for the teacher, it's a supplement. But for about 30 to 45 minutes a week, what can be provided to that student that's at their level, followed by an adaptive assessment, a short adaptive assessment to say, okay, they've mastered that skill, now we can move to the next progression. So we looked at this from, I believe, 21, 22, and we saw some large gains in terms of growth on STAR. So our students that used MyPath actually saw double-digit gains over our students that didn't. So we're excited to implement that district-wide and track the progress of that and how our students are using it and the impact on this new version of STAR.
Board, remember that iReady is replacing the STAR from Renaissance. It wasn't, not STAR like STAAR, but STAR from Renaissance, which was we'd used it as obviously a growth measure and somewhat of a prognosticator as well in our own. They didn't do it for us. I think we did that, right? Yeah, so we kind of reverse engineered that for ourselves. Now, you stated there, I was reading something real quick. Did you talk about the campuses that were the sample that was using iReady this year versus the one that were using the traditional? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we felt pretty good about that, right?
That was one of the icing on the cake, if you will, for the decision to go to iReady, was to actually look at the data of how it was impacting students. We had access to iReady through House Bill 4545 that provided an individualized experience for kids, and some campuses took additional steps, and we were able to compare how campuses that were utilizing the MyPath that Dr. Cureton was talking about, how much more growth they saw than their peers that didn't have that same access, and it just was the icing on the cake for us to make the switch and be able to provide a better individualized experience for kids.
Hey, guys, on these goals that were put on the targets, are these the progressive targets that we put in there? In other words, that 45.7 was not 45.7 last year.
Correct.
Or the year before.
Correct.
Or the year before. And this dates back years ago when we did that, right, Dr. Curidan?
I think it was 2020 when we had reset these.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
COVID hit.
So if we would have left it at the 2020 goal,
We'd
we
be
would have
in good shape.
surpassed that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the reason we did that is because we knew that the state was going to keep moving the first down marker down the field, and we needed to try to stay up with that. Okay.
Additionally, as Dr. Cureton mentioned, looking at the new item types, looking how we're performing on the new item types, and making sure that our assessments are assessing our students in the ways that they're going to be seen at the end of the year is another piece to the puzzle as far as what we're doing differently to help support our kids.
You know, I have a third grade student, or I did last year. She took it. And, you know, when I was looking at it with her, I was kind of like, hey, what's up with math? She said, they was worded weird. That's the only thing but it's seeing this is kind of, I'm sure she's not the only one that, you know, came home or her parents looked at it and goes, just kind of thought you might, she's performed pretty well prior to it. So anyway, I think there's something about the way that test was worded as well that kind of speaks to this slide.
Yeah, deeper in the presentation, pretty much up next, I think we're going to be talking about comparable to this region of the state. And you're going to see math is kind of that way statewide. Agency officials that I've been on a Zoom with recently, whose name shall not be mentioned, has said that math was a kicker this year, as was growth.
Yeah.
So y'all go ahead and continue.
Yeah, and lots of similar sentiment around the district from students of how much more difficult those had taken a previous STAR test to have the comparison group there. So you're looking here at our performance on third, fourth, and fifth grade, reading, math, and science. You can see ours is the left column, the region in the middle, and then the state on the far right. As we're looking at it there, if it's in green, we're either meeting or exceeding one. If it's a little bit darker green, it means we're exceeding both. You'll see we're very comparable, and really going back to what I said about the meets and masters, you see how well we're doing in that lane and how close we are in those lanes that aren't green to not only the region but the state as well. To the next slide, you can see 6th, 7th, and 8th grade here, and I can go back if you need me to. Just want to highlight those data points as well. Where we're low, state's low. Where we're high, we're right on line with everyone else. I think you see some lower numbers on eighth grade social studies. We'll point at that one, but you look across the board, and we're right there exceeding on both the meets and masters side against both the state and the region there as well.
Yeah, I nearly came out of my shoes on seventh grade math. We've been talking about that for the last 2 or 3 years, and they had to like hold me down and show me the region and the state scores as well. So, because we're not in the 70s. You know, we need to be close to a 70, if not in the 70s in those. Well,
Yeah, and the content in seventh grade math, it's obviously the state is performing at a lower level. That is the introduction to more content than any other grade level that they see at the middle school, especially in math. So that's a very comparable performance, obviously, and I can confirm he did almost come out of his shoes when we were looking at this initial data. We'll look at the high school data here. Does that Algebra 1 include the middle school performance as well?
that's everybody.
That's at all Algebra 1 students there for that performance. So kudos to our Algebra 1 teachers, both at the middle school and the high school level there. We'll get into cohort data next. Any question on any of these slides? All right. Dr. Crawford's favorite, to look at cohorts to see how we performed year over year, same group of apples to apples as much as we could in a year where they changed the way we assess whether they were an apple or an orange. So you can see gains here. The first column is 21-22, next column is 22-23, and then the final column is the difference between the two. Would draw your attention, obviously, the transition grades as we look the move from 5th grade to 6th grade and 8th grade to 9th grade. I can go back again, so we'll draw attention to English 1 there. Where if you look right here, where we're 3 points away from the state and the region there, and a number that we had a pretty significant drop is in line with what you're seeing, not only for the state, but the region as well. Great gains in English 2. Again, that transition grade is a grade where you traditionally see a dip. So you can see the performance 21-22 of our now juniors, and then how they did as sophomores there on that assessment. Did some really great gains there on pretty much across the board. And again, the 6th grade transition year, right there with the state and above the state and the region on the meets and masters side, and right at the same percentage on the approaches side. Here's math.
And you get to math.
And you get to math. And the 7th grade is where Dr. Crawford almost lost his shoes. But if you look at 21-22 performance, which is the 8th graders on this track, the previous year's 7th graders, they were at 45%. So we saw a 15% gain in our performance as 7th grade, and a really significant gain as they performed as 8th graders. 8th graders, the first time they get to use it, they can have access to a calculator, so that helps make that more normal math for the rest of us that use calculators on a daily basis. So great things to highlight here, and really proud of how we performed. Coming off a really great year the year before, felt like we met that expectation and continued to build upon a really good year and had another one to back it up. So I think that is all we have. If you have any questions or any comments from Dr. Crawford.
Questions or comments from the board?
Comment in regards to the progress. I think that we did very well considering the change in the testing. That was a very difficult change, changing the number of items and the type of items that the students had to do. I think our staff did an excellent job on trying to make that transition. I know they were stressed out at the very beginning, but seemed like they performed pretty well considering the transition and everything. That's saying a lot. Next year will really tell the story, I guess, after we get used to it and actually. Now, question, did they count it as a scoring the districts this year, or did they?
Well, those
overlook
ratings will actually come out a month from now.
So they are going to use it to rate the schools
Absolutely.
this year? No.
So, yeah, that's a good question. And the way we've been talking about this statewide, and I was on a Zoom call again the other day with an agency official, is this is a floor year. There's no doubt about it. It looks like statewide, districts that look like us, you're going to look at these affect your, even though we actually saw some improvements.
Right.
The cut scores have been moved so far ahead that you're actually going to see probably anywhere from a 8 to 10 point drop on ratings. So just prepare yourself for that. We're kind of roughly running the numbers right now. TEA is roughly running the numbers right now. In fact, I don't even know if they really know what this really means and what it looks like right now. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Even though we actually got a lot of green on here,
Yeah.
it's just not going to calculate that way.
Yeah, and I heard I read a quote from the same high-ranking official that you're referring to that said that school districts will perform at or above where they did last year and receive a lower rating. That was a direct quote.
It kind of goes back to the off-the-cuff conversation we had last February and March of this year's C is better than last year's B. I mean,
Math doesn't check out on that.
a first down this year is 15 yards, last year was 10. So we're playing Canadian football now, not American.
That official it's Ron Jones's buddy.
Mr. Jones's buddy, yes.
I just want to reiterate the whole iReady thing, like, the use of technology, like, that's where you would expect to see that stuff. That, I think, having kids having a tailor-made kind of, lesson is awesome. I think that's great news. It should be great for us moving forward.
We're looking a little bit, we're probably more contrarian about this than a lot of school systems our size or larger about bundling everything toward the assessment. Your curriculum, your supportive curriculum that you're talking about with iReady, as it goes to your interim assessments, et cetera, and use those, if you're going to do benchmarking or whatever you're going to call them, ready checks or whatever, on-level checks, all the way to your STAR. There's a lot of folks that are fighting that. There's been some noise there. It's kind of like the old C-scope days. C-scope was the evil. It was
Everybody knows what C-scope is.
Yeah, it was the evil monster that was lurking out there, and we couldn't do C-scope anymore, and yet we're talking about maybe getting back to a statewide curriculum, an actual curriculum, not just the standards. So it's, having that, I hate calling it canned because it's not canned, but it is individualized. You're using it's technology rich in the resources that you're using here, and so it's going to be able to provide a student with a more robust, tailored approach as opposed to just a scatter shooting and just trying to get as many as you can.
But yeah, even benchmarking, that's not the word anymore because it's more than that now.
Yeah.
One more question regarding iReady. In regards to the classroom, how's that going to look in the classroom with a teacher when she determines the iReady needs? How's she going to implement that in her classroom?
So a lot of times what you'll see, especially at the elementary level, and we're starting to see it navigate into the middle school level, you see a kind of a station rotation where the kids are working independently and then have some time, small group instruction with the teacher, one on 3 or 5, however the teacher groups them. And a lot of times our teachers will either use that as one of the stations away from the teacher table, or they'll utilize it to determine what they're going to do with the kids at the teacher table, and really tailoring it to grouping the students around like needs so that they're scatter shooting and getting hitting the needs of multiple students, not just the one.
That's a good question. Of course, I think we're in the window right now. Is that right, Dr. Ward, Dr. Davis, Ms. Dykeman, Ms. Chapa? We're in the iReady beginning of the year capturing of where the kids are right now. So we'll have that data at iReady, from iReady here soon, and that'll allow us to do some creative things with them. In fact, our project you and I have discussed about a teacher aide or two being paired with a teacher on that'll really start helping us figure out how we're going to be able to prescriptively give our kids a little boost here, because it is a different test, and we think the iReady platform most models the state exam, correct?
Oh, yes.
That was one of the ones we talked about.
Renaissance is not a state of Texas thing where iReady is directly aligned to state standards. in our state assessments as well.
So we've got it through middle school, okay? This is not an iReady commercial. We've got it through middle school, but I've got a point on this to high school. We turned in our teacher incentive allotment plan to the state. And of course, we've got a lot of data points, data marks that we can pull from K through 8. With our high school teachers for TIA, they can only qualify if they're the only thing we're grabbing is the STAR test. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're looking for a high school-esque type of system that we can use as well. We don't have one of those right now. Sometimes the guy that's responsible for supervising high schools allows them to be the pre-college folks that they think they are. Hey, y'all know I'm a former high school principal as well. But we've got to do some things like that where there's more system checks going on for our kids inside of our high school curricula as well. So that's coming down the pike. We just got to find the right platform because iReady does not have a high school platform.
Bouncing off of what he said about that, my daughter was telling me she has an iReady benchmark tomorrow in reading. So they'll do the same as what it was in Renaissance as well. One now, one at the end of the year, one in January, and then one after STAR?
Yes.
Is that right?
We'll do a beginning, middle, and
So
end.
the same.
Go ahead. You want to say something?
No more, no less.
I'm gonna let you, but I guess I can chime in. Okay, so we'll do reading this week, and then we'll do reading again in January for the middle of the year, and then we'll do it at the end of the year in May. And then we'll do math the following week. So we'll start with reading one test, and then they'll do math the following week every time.
Gotcha.
3 intervals.
And the STAR assessment is earlier next year.
Oh, it is?
It's the
Fall in April, like April.
second week in April. So we will be done with STAR testing by May 1st, before May 1st, which is different than,
Which means we've got to be really good on the back end of the year and not see what we saw this year. We do need a lot of enrichment, planned enrichment. But at the same time, we don't need to just kick back and lose that month of instruction. We didn't do a great job this year, in my opinion, but we can do better this coming year, a little planning. And let's go back to assessment. We've talked about this for a decade now, that we embrace assessment. We are not over-testing our kids. We use this to drive instruction to make sure they're getting what they need. And I think that anti-testing contingent that's out there, the ones that have been whining about it, instead of competing against it like we have, I think they're making a mistake. I'm not talking about parents. I'm talking about other school systems and other institutions that talk about the testing culture. We're trying to continuously improve, and we need to know. When we hired new football coaches this last year, I kept asking that question, how do you know? Because everybody can come interview very well, but I wanted to see game film to make sure we were getting a better quality product on the football field. So same thing here. Our teachers need to know where our kids are. How do you know? We can't just guess that they're going to do well and that they're going to keep advancing, continuously improving. So I think we've got a good plan this year to increase what we've been doing. Since it's reset on us, obviously.
Well, hopefully after a year, of implementing this new program, next April when they're about to take the STAR test and I ask my kids how they're feeling that morning, they'll look at me and say, "I ready."
We read.
Bum, bum, ba, bum. I have been waiting a long time on that one. Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions? Also had the, I read it. I read it. I read it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are ready to move on to the public hearing on the 2023 and 2024 budget?
Actually, we've got item B,
sorry.
Mr. Washman.
Yeah, skipped it. Well, I am ready.
Under
approved.
continuous improvement,
District
the board
improvement
was
plans.
provided, the board was provided the district improvement plan and all the campus improvement plans. If you have any questions about those, feel free to contact myself or Dr. Gropel or Mr. Jones, and we may get you to the right chief of schools to talk to as well about certain plans within those, certain things within those plans. Remember, this is a statutory requirement. It's also in your board policy, BQ legal, we're excited to provide you a 10th consecutive year, well, maybe 9th consecutive year, because I don't know if we were always doing it, of our district improvement plan and our campus improvement plans.
Thank you, my apologies.
Okay.
I was not ready for that. Okay. Moving on to the approval of minutes.
We got to adopt it, Mr. Washman.
Adopt it?
You have to consider it, and then y'all vote how you feel free, but yes, sir.
Okay, let's consider an approval for these district improvement plans. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
So move. That we approve the district improvement plan and campus improvement plans and planning process.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Nobody say ready. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, now we can go approve these minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting and the board workshop?
I move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting and the board workshop.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay, now we have a public hearing on the 2023 and 2024 budget.
Yeah, as part of the budget calendar that y'all approved, and we go through starting back in the spring, culminating into a vote to adopt the budget here in just a minute. We actually have a public hearing on the 23-24 budget as part of that process. Okay. Anybody from the public want to comment on the proposed budget? I don't think we have anybody wants to do that. Okay. Is that good enough for the public hearing? Okay. Now we'll move on to our action items, which is, first one is the adoption of the 2023 and 2024 budget. Y'all want to, you mean to talk about some highlights in that real quick? Please do. Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, good. I know not everyone has watched the online, our meetings that we've had as far as the budget goes, but Tasha Bjork is our Deputy Superintendent of Finance and Operations, our Chief Financial Officer. There's a tax rate decrease of almost 22 cents, 3.5 cents of that being on the debt service side. We were able to significantly boost teacher compensation in both salaries and in stipends, and gave raises to other employees at higher percentages than we did last year. Very proud of that compensation boost. I think that represents a decade plus of this board providing compensation increases for the employees of Tyler ISD. Very happy to be able to get our teachers in a position, especially year 10 and on, to compete salary-wise. That's what's in this budget. Okay, any comments or questions on the 2023 or 2024 budget?
How does that tax rate compare with others in the county? Do we know yet? Or what I guess no one's adopted it for this year? Yeah.
Yeah, Chapel Hill went up because they passed their bond significantly on that. It's gotten to the point to where, back in the day, they'd cap you at $1.04. Remember those days? And everybody get to that $1.04 or whatever, and you could go and look at your debt service side and say, well, our debt's lower than Lindale. And then you could say, well, we were third lowest out of 10. I think there's 10 Smith County school systems. Gladewater's got a little bit of it, and I think Van's got a little bit of Smith County maybe. I know Gladewater does. It's kind of gotten more difficult. Since they redid all the formulas, it's gotten more difficult because of the compression that they're doing on property values now and on tax rates now. So being able to say that you're, 10th lowest in the county is really not an apples to apples comparison when you start talking about the formulas that the legislature set forth for school finance this time around.
It would be separate on the M&O side unless they've done a tax rate election like Lindale, which they have added pennies to their tax rate.
Yep.
But debt service is all over the map, so it just depends, and that's added to that, so.
Yeah, the county tax office should have that data for us probably in October, and we'll be sure to get that to y'all, once we figure out, what's that?
It'll be soon because
Soon.
all the districts have to adopt
Yeah,
this.
we'll get it, we'll send it out, I'll send y'all an email
Yeah,
with that.
be curious to know
Okay.
what our M&O is.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm really proud that over, like, taking 3 cents off, the INS side, and since I've just been on the board and been a part of it, it seems like we really have every year been, we kind of crested with a couple of big bonds, but man, we've been able to pay off. We've just been so fortunate, hit the market how we hit it, and to pay off so much debt early, and then our citizens will be able to, just to watch us, decrease that INS side over time, and it's just a blessing.
Yes, sir. So we passed the 2017 bond and raised it 3 cents. I think within 3 years of that, we were below that original tax rate of raising it 3 cents. Is that correct, Tasha? Mm-hmm.
We dropped to 33,
Right.
and then we dropped to 30, and now we're 26 and a half.
Yeah. In fact, when we did the 22 bond.
No tax rate increase.
We didn't do a tax rate increase, and we even committed to the public that we were going to go a penny underneath that.
We did.
And we wound up going 2.5 pennies or something like that last year, and so here we are again, being able to do it. Now, a lot of that's not what we've done. Some of that is because of the property values and the growth in Smith County, but we have been able to do some of that ourselves, being able to provide that to our taxpayers. It's a pretty neat deal.
The early payment of debt has really helped.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments?
One more, we'll present it here at a future board meeting, but kudos to Tasha and her staff again for superior achievement on their first rating.
Thank you.
Cool stuff. So, glad you're with us, Tasha.
Okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on the adoption of the 2023-2024 budget.
I move we adopt the 2023-2024 budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Now we're moving on to the adoption of the 2023-2024 tax rate, as we were just kind of talking about. Any other comments or questions on this part of it? 69.53 on the M&O, 2647 on the INS. That's pretty incredible. When's the last time it was that low? Do we know?
91.
1991. Nice. I think I was in 5th grade at Clarkston, 1991. Do I entertain a motion on that tax rate?
I move we adopt the 2023-2024 tax rate.
Okay, do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, now the final amended budget for last year, 22 and 23. Any comments or questions before I entertain a motion on that? I'll go ahead and entertain a motion then.
I move that we approve the 2022-23 final amended budget.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you, Tasha, for all your hard work over the years. Yeah, pretty incredible. Okay, does anybody have anything they want to pull or talk about before I entertain a motion on items A through H? Okay, then I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on items A through H.
So move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion carries.
Mr. Washman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Washman, just a comment about item A on that, since
Yes.
y'all have adopted it. That's our preventative maintenance fund, where we actually dedicate 3 cents of our budget to taking care of these beautiful facilities that have been provided to us by our community. So we wanted to make sure to highlight that this board is very committed to that and gives direction to the administration, to the superintendent and the facilities director to take care of these great facilities that we have. And So just want to make sure that we publicly acknowledge that, of which y'all just adopted.
Good deal. Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions or want to pull anything before I entertain a motion on items A through G on our curriculum instruction and consent agenda? I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on items A through G.
I
Move we approve?
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Future business. We have workshop September 7th. We have a regular meeting September 18th, and we have a couple of high school football games at the end of this week.
Legacy Red Raiders are traveling to play their longtime rival, the Lufkin Panthers, and the Tyler Lions are hosting Marshall Mavericks at Rose Stadium on Friday night. So we're excited to have a little East Texas rivalry matchups for our schools. It's, everybody talks about athletics and the emphasis on sports, but it's great to see the community get together and enjoy our students performing, whether it be the drill team or the band or the cheerleaders or the football players. That's what makes East Texas still special, is that it's still a community gathering place.
Special time of year. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.